This is the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
They fought for us, now he'll fight for you. The pursuit of justice and liberty. It's the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
And now, Bob Cordaro.
Great good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. My name is Bob Cordaro, and this is the Bob Cordaro Show on TV. As many of you know, I do radio 5 days a week, 9 a.m. to noon on WILK. Appointment radio, we call it. And now we do this thing, the Bob Cordaro Show on TV, each and every week at 11:30 a.m. here on WNEP. Well, first we're joined by Rebecca Martino from Stately Pet Supply. And she's going to continue telling us about how to take care of our pets. It's her monthly segment, and we're looking forward to it. We'll find out what our dogs and cats and all those things need. Woof, woof, and meow. And then it's my friend Tom Munley. Tom Munley, from teacher to warrior to judge to veterans advocate. We're going to talk about his life and his times and all the things he did. So with the help of God, our families, and each other, let us begin.
Congressman Dan Muser has made his mark in Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania as a member of the Financial Services and Small Business Committees, with offices to serve you in Tunkhannock, Bloomsbury, Hamburg, Dallas, Lebanon, Berwick, and Pottsville. Rebecca Martino is the owner of Stately Pet Supply, a unique pet store experience in Clark Summit. Rebecca is also a vocal advocate for local business and buying local.
Well, we're joined in our monthly segment by Rebecca Martino of Stately Pet Supply. And she's been telling us about what we got to do to take care of our pets. And you could take care of all of that, by the way, at Stately Pet Supply. And I noticed your shirt.
Mm-hmm. One of our staff shirts.
It says, "My pet eats local." Mm-hmm. I love it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So these are, there are staff shirts. You know, they have our logo and a few plugs of some brands in the back, but you can actually buy them at the store. But it's hard to display, so it's okay to ask for where they might be. We move them because a lot of times the cats lay on them and nobody wants to buy a shirt brand new with cat hair all over it. So, or at least our cats anyway.
So, Rebecca, you brought something up to me, and I keep learning so much each time you're with us, that it's spring. Mm-hmm. We're all thinking hay fever and allergies, and it carries through for our pets.
It definitely does. So seasonal allergies are very different from, let's say, a food allergy, but the unfortunate thing is a lot of times they can present in the same way, but a very important distinguishing factor is you don't see them during the winter, but now you may be seeing your dog itching, scratching, biting all four paws. It's not typically something they'd only do with just the front two. Mm-hmm. They're generalized feeling itchy and just kind of distressed. So, or maybe they're waking you up at night with their leg is thumping when they're kind of scratching like this in the middle of the night. These are things that are pretty common with seasonal allergies, and anyone who has a grill cover or drives with the windows down can see how you can almost draw your name in the pollen on the grill cover or on the dash of your car. It comes from, first of all, a lot of trees actually have a great deal of pollen. Yeah. You might not be seeing a lot of flowers blooming yet, but there's a lot of pollen out there, and your dog just kind of has to come into contact with it. And poof, there you go.
There's pollen on the sidewalks. There's pollen on the grass.
You can see it floating through the air. Yeah, all that. So this is where first we identify what it is. It's as a seasonal allergy. First step I like to do is say, when was the last time your dog had a good bath? Giving them a blank slate and giving their skin and coat a bit of a fresh air. Mm-hmm. Kind of, it's the pollen's not hanging on them anymore. It collects on their fur. So give them a good bath. There are different soaps and shampoos and things like that you can do. Don't overbathe. But it's important to not underbathe your pet either.
You can get this advice and some of these products at Stately Pet.
Absolutely. I have some that work really, really well for some serious itching, or some that might just be minimal, but we have all different kind of grades of intensities and anti-itch shampoos and balms. Maybe they're already licking their paws and causing some redness and itching between their paws. It's constantly moist, and that doesn't do them any good.
Yeah.
You got to stop that.
Do cats suffer in the same way?
Yep.
So even indoor cats?
They can. So we actually in the store have 3 cats, and Willard specifically, without fail, every spring starts scratching here, and he almost rubs his hair thin up here. You can see it. So just by the air fluctuating in and out of the door, you can have these symptoms. So I like to support also with, from the inside out, with things like omega fatty acids. They're very very functional for supporting the immune system and fighting allergies. Also, it's important that you're current with your veterinarian, and when you are, they are very easily able to give you doses for things like Zyrtec, Benadryl. You already have them in your house maybe, and maybe you take them for yourself.
Yeah.
But with the right dose, they're appropriate for your pets too.
And is there some silent suffering going on there that you don't notice, that you might miss, or that you might think is something else?
Yeah, that can happen. So there are varying degrees of attention you can pay to your pet based on if you were at home all the time, maybe in the last few years, and now your job is moving you back out of the house and you're gone for greater time. Give them a look over. Take a look specifically inside their ears. See if their ears are inflamed or if they're cool in flesh tone versus, maybe there's a little bit of a film building up on their skin or coat. Redness between the paws. Take a look at them when they don't think you're watching. See if they're kind of corncob biting on their legs, paws, things like that.
Rebecca Martino, Stately Pet Supply. We learned a lot again today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Road Scholar Transport, a higher standard.
We're joined today for our Power Brunch Player of the Week, Judge Thomas Munley. I've known him forever. I knew of him before I knew him, and I know him forever. And he's with us today, and we got a lot to talk about. Tom Munley, Judge Tom Munley, welcome.
Thank you so much, Bob, and it's great to be on your show.
All right. Tommy, tell us, let's go back to the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in a little town called Jessup, and I was born from an Italian. I have five kids in our family, Bob. 4 boys and 1 girl. I'm in the middle. There was my brother Pat, my sister Pat, then Jackie, then me, Joe, Bobby, and Joe. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I had an Italian mother and an Irish father. And let me tell you, growing up, because a lot of times on the Irish side, they wanted us to go to dinner for Easter and Christmas, but we never wanted to go because the Italians, in all honesty, are better cooks. So we used to want to stay with the Italian side and have dinner with them on Easter and Christmas.
But what a great, 2 great ethnicities to combine.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Bob.
And did you feel like you had both parents alive for most of your growing up, or all of your growing?
All of my growing up, but unfortunately, my parents died in their 50s.
Oh, man.
My father was 54, and my mother was 57. So my father died 2 weeks after I started law school, and my mother died 2 weeks before I finished.
Let's take it back a second. You're in Jessup. Is it Jessup High School, or
I
is it
went
Valley
to
View
Jessup
yet?
High School.
Green Wave.
The Jessup Green Wave. I played football for the Jessup Green Wave.
Now, did you go to college immediately after high school?
That's a great question. After high school, I went to West Virginia, not university, West Virginia Institute of Technology, and played football for 1 year at West Virginia. I knew I was going nowhere in football. And then I transferred from there to East Stroudsburg because I'll never forget, I wanted to go to the University of Scranton. We didn't have any money. I'll never forget my father told me, he said, Tom, you go to a state school, or you don't go to college at all. I would have loved to go to the U, but he said, we can't afford it. There's 5 kids. Go to a state college or you're not going at all. That's the truth.
Yeah. So Vietnam is raging.
Right.
You go to East Stroudsburg.
Yes, and I graduated, and I was a school teacher. I was a school
You're
teacher.
already teaching. Where?
For Jessup High School for 1 year.
And then what happens? How do you go to Vietnam?
You ask all the right questions, but what happened was I knew I didn't want to be a school teacher my whole life. And I knew the war was raging. So
What year are we talking, Tommy?
1969,
All right.
the height of the Vietnam War.
yeah.
I mean, it was like 400 or 500 soldiers a week were getting killed in Vietnam. And I called the draft board and I said, I don't think I want to teach. They said, well, if you give up teaching, you're not going to last long before you're drafted. So I said, well, I'm going to give up teaching because I want to be a lawyer. Right after I gave up teaching, I volunteered for the draft because I knew I was going to get drafted.
Yeah.
In 1969, I went in the United States Army, Bob. And here's the thing, basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Infantry training. I said, what am I doing in the infantry? I never held a gun in my life.
Yeah.
I never held anything in my life when it came to weapons or
Yeah.
anything. They stuck me in the infantry. And I'll never forget. Then here I am in the infantry for 9 weeks. So now I'm gone for 18 weeks. Then you get your orders. Now I put down, they let you put down where you want to go. I put down France, England,
Yeah.
a place like that. I ended up in the darn infantry in Vietnam.
Yeah.
That's where I ended up.
Where were you stationed in
I
Vietnam?
was stationed right outside of a place called Chu Lai. And when, Bob, I swear this is the truth. When I got to Chu Lai, then they took me to Da Nang, I think it was. I got on a helicopter. They're taking me out to we called it the bush, out to the bush. That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
All by myself with the pilot and the guy next to him and 2 machine gunners. And I'm in there. There's no doors on the helicopters.
Yeah.
You just hang your legs
Oh,
over.
you were going to be a fill-in for a platoon?
I was one guy went home and I had to go and fill his place.
Yeah.
And Bob, I right after I got in this field, nobody's there. The helicopter's about 2 feet off the ground, and the guy said, "Get out." And I looked at him. He said, "Get out." And I said, "Well, land the helicopter." It was only about maybe a foot and a half or 2. They pushed me out. And you know why they didn't want to land? Because they figured, hey, what if there's a mine there or something? So they pushed me out. I didn't fall down. I'm standing there, and nobody's around. I'm saying, just my first day in Vietnam. I'm all by myself in the middle of this area, and all of a sudden, Bob, about 10 seconds later, they start coming out. My soldiers who were with me with bandanas on their heads, their magazines all over their body. They were wearing their underwear because it was so hot.
Yeah.
It was, even though it was December, it was hot. And they came out, and one guy went like that for me to come over, and I ran over there with my new green fatigues on. They were laughing at me. That's how it was.
Yeah.
And the guy said to me, his first name is Jim. He's from Joplin, Missouri. He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Pennsylvania." I said, "I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania." And he looked at the other guys in the squad. There's about 7 or 8 other guys. He said, "From now on, your name is Scranton." That's what they called me for my whole time in Vietnam, Scranton Munley. That's what they called me. And he said to me, nobody wants to be around you because you're a new guy.
Yeah.
He said, "You're a new guy, nobody wants to be around you." He said, "Stick by me. I'll teach you how to be a soldier, and I'll make sure you go home." That's what he said to me.
How long were you with him?
I was with him for 6 or 7 months out in the bush.
What was the job? Were you just doing reconnaissance?
Yeah,
were you there to hold a position or to do reconnaissance?
No, every day we moved to different areas. And every day you worry about, that's why a lot of guys couldn't take it. They either booby traps, snipers, firefights. The worst was the booby traps. That was the worst. And then you're out there 24/7. You don't get a break.
Yeah.
Maybe for a day or 2 a month, they'll take you up on the hill and let you get a little rest up on the hill where it's fairly safe. At least there's some barbed wire around the fence. But other than that, you're out there.
So Judge, you know you have a full year of this to do.
Yes.
You got to be counting the days. You got to be counting the minutes. You got to be. Are you watching? Now, did your squad, any of your guys get killed?
Yes, Bob. Yes. And, it's the weirdest thing. One guy was ready to go home. I was in Vietnam about, I'd say 3 weeks, and we went up on top of this hill, and I got down. It was raining, and I got under a tree, and the sergeant said to me, "Munley, get out of there." He said, "Get out of there." I don't want to mention his name. He said, "So-and-so is going home in 2 weeks. Let him get under the tree to stay a little dry." As soon as I moved, I'd say about 10 minutes later, boom, an artillery round landed right on him. And I mean a mortar round. And the guy next to me, he got sliced in his hand, but it missed me completely. That's just the first time.
You're how old?
I was 24.
You're one of the older
23,
guys.
23.
So you're like an older guy.
They used to call me an old man. Most of them were 19 years old.
Yeah.
Bob, it's the worst war I think this country ever had. Why? Because you don't sleep in a bed.
Yeah.
You sleep on the ground with there's snakes all over the place. There's rats. I had one guy who was so traumatized, Bob. He was so traumatized, because your body's covered in sores after you're there a couple of months, because you never get a chance to take a shower. If you take a shower, it's in a muddy stream or something. Your body's covered in sores. So when you're out in the field like that, you take your shoes and socks off because your feet are jungle rotted, and this jungle rot, I should say. And this guy, we used our helmets to lie down. We put our helmets under us, and this guy said to me, he sort of went like that. He nudged me. He said, "Tom, or Scranton," he called me, whatever. He said, "Scranton, look at my toe. There's a big rat nibbling at my toe." And Bob, nobody believes me. I looked. There was this big rat nibbling at his toe, and the blood was trickling down his foot. He didn't even move his foot. And I said, "Dan, move your foot." He said, "Why? Let him go. He's probably hungry." And I thought to myself, welcome to Vietnam.
Yeah.
How could somebody, like if I see a mouse now, I jump.
Yeah.
How could somebody, he didn't move his foot. And I told that story before. I don't think anybody believes me, but I saw it happened.
Yeah. Judge Munley, you're there, you're putting in your time, you're seeing a lot of things that nobody should see.
I saw a lot of people die. I saw a lot of people get blown up. But the point is, I never got touched. I came close 4 times to getting killed, but I never got touched.
Did you spend any time, just out of curiosity, in Saigon?
Never.
Because they showed the chaos in Saigon when guys had to leave for 48 hours.
No, I was never there.
Okay.
When I got my leave, I flew to Hawaii. I got a 6-day leave in June of '69. June of '70.
How many months into your...
6 months into Vietnam.
Okay.
And I flew to Hawaii for 6 days. And Bob,
How do you go back? How did you go back?
That was hard. And I'll never forget.
You go from hell to paradise. Back to hell.
Back. First thing I did, I asked for one of my friends. I said, "Where's so-and-so?" They said, "He got killed while you were gone." That's exactly what they said. He got killed while you were gone. But anyway, how did he get killed? He was walking on a trail and he saw Vietnamese and he said "Dang Lai," which means stop. Instead of the guy turned around and killed him. Then they shot the guy, but he's too late. But anyway, but that was after 8 months. In 8 months and 5 days in the field, I got lucky. They sent somebody out on a helicopter. They said, "Anybody here know how to type?" And I raised my hand and I said, I do. I know how to type. He said, get on that helicopter. You're going back to the rear to be a typist. So I was a typist my last 3 months in Vietnam. Talk about luck.
This Power Brunch Player of the Week brought to you by Road Scholar Transport. We'd like to thank the whole Barrett family for bringing this feature to you. So Tommy, you get home from Vietnam. What's waiting for you?
I get home from Vietnam and I tried to get my teaching job back. When I got home from Vietnam, I had to do 6 more months at Fort Dix, New Jersey. I tried to get my teaching job back, but they hired somebody else, and I couldn't get the job back. It's not like it is now, where you could get the job. They guarantee you your job back. They didn't like Vietnam veterans.
Yeah,
and I never got my job back. So that's when I decided, Bob, that I'm going to try law school.
So you go to law school. And you really developed a storied reputation. You were the go-to guy for criminal cases, the big criminal cases. You were flamboyant. I always suspected you got yourself in the paper.
Yeah.
You'd take these big cases and developed a big reputation. And at some point, you decide, I want to be a judge.
Exactly. And Bob, you've been my friend for a long time, and I have to thank you for all our friendship over the years. Yes, I wanted to be a judge. After I was a lawyer for 31 years, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I mean, the stress.
Yeah.
Because I was a trial lawyer, Bob, and the stress was insurmountable. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I said, I'm going to try to be a judge. I know I'd be a fair judge. I know I'd be an honest judge. And then I decided to run in 2005.
And you win.
And I won.
Now, when do you, a lot of people don't know this, when do you contract multiple sclerosis?
I contracted multiple sclerosis in 1995.
In the midst of this stressful defense attorney career.
That's right. And I'm convinced that had something to do with Agent Orange. I was exposed to Agent Orange. I know it does because I got cancer subsequent to that in 2012. I got cancer, prostate cancer, and it spread to different parts of my body, but they contained it. And Dr. Preed did a great job. He contained it for me.
That's why, I mean, it's no fun having cancer on top of multiple sclerosis.
Right. That's right.
It's a monster challenge.
It was a monster challenge, but I had great doctors, and I had doctors from Philadelphia for my multiple sclerosis, but Dr. Preet here, and they all took care of me. I had Dr. Preet, Dr. Peters, Dr. Lisa Thomas. They were wonderful to me. Mm-hmm. They all helped me. They all told me, we're going to keep you alive. I said, for what? I said, all my buddies from Vietnam passed away, most of them already. They all died in their late 60s from Agent Orange exposure.
Yeah. Now, before you become a judge, but then you were able to accelerate it after, you took on veterans' causes. You took on publicizing your fellow veterans from all wars.
Yes, from all wars. And Bob, I never golfed. I never played tennis. I never did anything. The only sport I ever took part in was football. Okay, I played football. When I got back from Vietnam, I said, I'm going to spend my whole life trying to help veterans. And that's for the last 50 years, that's all I've ever done. I never charged a veteran when they needed help. Not for major cases. I'm talking about small things I do for them. Mm-hmm. Now I do a show on TV. For the last 8 years, I help veterans every single day. There's not one day that goes by when a veteran doesn't call me, because they're called a TV station and ask me to help them. Every single day I do it.
That's been almost your mission as much as practicing law and being a judge.
That's right. And Bob, like you have your show's a big time show. You're in a lot of county in our area where you do your show and I do my show. There's 230,000 veterans That's a lot.
It's remarkable.
That's remarkable.
That's why the area is great.
That's why the area is great. And I listen to your show on the radio too, and I love when you honor a veteran or something on your show. Every time I'm not working, I listen to your show. And it's so wonderful to hear you talk about veterans. Because veterans, when I got back from Vietnam, I got thrown out of. I waited in line one time. First of all, I couldn't get my teaching job back. I waited in line to get gas for about 35, 40 minutes. There was a lot of people in the line. The guy threw me out. He saw me with my uniform on. He kicked me out. That's the thanks I got.
It was an incredible response to our veterans after Vietnam.
That's right.
It was disgraceful.
It was crazy. But it changed now.
Yeah.
People are, you honor veterans on your radio show, and even having me on here is an honor for me. So that means a lot.
So your senior judge status, you've risen all the way to president judge.
Yes.
Now, in the midst of multiple sclerosis, cancer, you never took any major time off.
No, I never did.
And you become president judge.
Yeah.
You're now senior status.
Now I'm a senior judge in Easton, Pennsylvania. I drive to Easton every day. Now my brother Joe is nice. He helps me a lot. At least once a week he'll drive me to Easton and back because he doesn't want me to drive by myself.
Yeah.
But Bob, I'm not going to stay long. I don't think I'll stay. It's too hard on me to drive to Easton and back every day. So I think I'll stay as a judge a few more months and then I'll call it a day.
Well, I don't think you'll call it a day.
Well, I'll call it a day as a judge.
You're going to call an audible. You're going to call an audible and do something interesting.
Yeah, I am going to
because from teacher to soldier to lawyer to judge, veterans advocate, you've done a lot.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And I'm not going to get. I'm up in age now. I'm in my middle 70s, but it's not over yet. I mean, I still have time to. I'm still healthy. I still have time to do things, and as long as I can walk, I'm doing things.
Tommy Munley, thank you so much for being with us.
Bob, it's my honor to be here with you.
Appreciate it.
It's my honor to be here with you. Thank you, Bobby.
Road Scholar Transport, a higher standard.
Well, that's our show for the week. I don't know about you, but I learned a lot and I felt a lot, which is the whole goal of this show. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back again with another edition, 11:30 a.m. WNEP-TV, Sundays.
Thanks for being part of the program. You've got an appointment every Sunday morning at 11:30 right here on WNEP-TV, The Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
Now he'll fight for you, the pursuit of justice and liberty. It's the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.